What's up everyone, I'm Mech and welcome to another video series. And in this series I'm going to show you the Dominion 1 in all its glory and faults and quirkiness and everything. I chopped up the entire recording in a couple of episodes and I go over each section. It's gonna be very nerdy, a lot of sound examples. This synthesizer deserves that. To have a video series that zooms in on its capability and sound, because the sound of this synthesizer is really something special. Without further ado, let's just dive right into it. Let's go. So this is the Dominion 1 synthesizer, and as you can see it has a lot of knobs, a lot of sliders, a patch bay so you can connect to your modular synthesizer if you want. It has sliders and of course a FATAR keypad. FATAR? I don't know if you say FATAR. Probably you say FATAR. Fader. FATAR. I don't know. The cool thing about this synthesizer is that it's really hands-on and it really invites you to keep going from sound to sound. Without further ado, just let's start with the basics, and that will be the VCOs. The Dominion 1 has 3 VCOs and they sound very thick, analog, great sound, and I'll show you. Let's start with a triangle. I'm just gonna go over each waveform to show you how it sounds. Also be warned, I'm not a very good keyboard player, but I'm just gonna go play some things and use the arpeggiator, that kind of stuff. As you can hear, this is just a triangle and it already sounds really beefy. So let's move over to a saw. Again, very thick, a lot of harmonics, very fizzly as well, but in a good way. And I'm not using the filters. If you start filtering stuff away with the cutoff and boosting it with the resonance and everything, the sawtooth is incredible. Let's go to pulse. Oh yeah. It's ridiculous how it's just so beefy. It is MFB and they are known for their very good oscillators and very good sound in general. So the Dominion 1 has 3 ring modulators, and the first one is an analog ring modulator, and then we have 2 digital ring modulators. So let's start with the analog ring modulator. So it uses the second oscillator in conjunction with the first oscillator, and the way it works is we have a ring modulator Y in. So this will feed VCO2 with VCO1. So as you can hear, we hear nothing. But now let's add the this sort of stuff is really great. This almost sounds like a chorus. So cool. This stuff I like as well, because you can really create really strange ambiences with it, like background machinery. If you add a lot of reverb, for instance. can hear, it's pretty noisy as well. I like that stuff because it's just... it makes it really, really analog and you can hear it. So if you want a clean sounding synth, this is probably not the one for you. But okay, let's move over to the ring modulators, the digital ones. Gonna turn this off. Second VCO uses the third VCO for its ring modulation. You can already hear all those strange little artifacts in between, and live you will get those too, and I think they are awesome, and it makes it really... I don't think it's supposed to happen, but it's really cool that it has this glitchy flavor to it. So the sound of the digital ring modulation is totally different from the analog one. So, as you can hear, that ring modulation is not subtle. So let's move over to the sync. Both the second and third oscillator sync to the first oscillator. Another part of the oscillator section is, of course, the noise. It's just white noise is not selectable. So that's that. Let's just add a second oscillator, because I've only been playing with one oscillator and it's just so thick, fat. So add a second. Alright, well yeah, there you go. I mean, it sounds so ridiculously fat. Alright, so let's go over, let's try. Didn't even know it was on, but there was a pulse width modulation turned on still. I'm gonna make sure those are off. I will get there eventually. But let's first go... Let's layer two saw oscillators and treat this one as a sub oscillator. Awesome. I really get lost really quickly with this synthesizer. Let's just move over to a third oscillator. let's just move over to the modulation section. So the frequency modulation uses the third LFO as a modulator, and we can actually send it to VCO1, VCO2 or VCO1 and 2. Let's control frequency modulate the first oscillator. As you can hear, it's really, when I have the same, it's in the same region, it will. And it's analog frequency modulation, so it is not stable at all. And that's actually, yeah, it sounds different, and it's totally not stable, and that makes it a lot of fun as well. You heard all these little clicks. What we can do is modulate the FM mod depth with LFO1, LFO2, of course the ADSRs, and of course the envelopes as well. So let's just use LFO1. You can get these pulsating madness sounds. Let's say we use the ADSR. You can get these almost percussive-like sounds with the frequency modulation. Let's move over to the modulation section of the oscillator section. So the modulation section, you can modulate the level of the oscillator, the pitch with two different LFOs, or the envelope one. The same goes for the VCO2. The VCO3 uses the AD envelope. And then you have pulse width modulation, of course, which is really nice. So let's try that out. And you can actually, as I'll show you with the pulse width option, this goes for every waveform. So obviously modulating a triangle is not really pulse width modulation, but it morphs it from triangle to let's say, I think it's a sine. It's not really a very perfect sine, but it is a sine wave. And on the saw, it modulates from saw to triangle, and pulse width, you get pulse width modulation. So it sounds a little bit like this. You can hear that there are less harmonics when I go set this all the way to the right. Let's check it out in the bass so you can hear it better. But as you can hear, it's not a perfect sine at all. It's just something else. It sounds less beefy, to be honest, but it is usable. The Dominion one is very easy to make it sound really harsh. If you want to make more mellow sounds, this is one of the ways to do that. So yeah, you can create some very lush, beautiful sounds with this technique. Of course, you can do this with a sawtooth as well. And there you go, it's a triangle right now. Of course, it seems that you lose a lot of bottom end with the sawtooth, but it's normal because there are so many high harmonics added that of course you're gonna lose some bottom end. Now let's move over to pulse width, and we're gonna use the pulse width modulation on all these as well. Okay, so let's try that with all oscillators. So let's add some modulation to that. So I'm gonna actually put this back in the normal position and now add some pulse width modulation, and that will use the first LFO. So you can hear pulse width modulation sounds really, really nice. I'm gonna add the other oscillators. Add those pulse width modulation as well. Add pulse width modulation. I'm gonna add pulse width modulation to the other VCOs as well. Also play with sync. I really like to use these buttons live as well, like so let's turn down the pulse width modulation. Of course, we can also do pitch modulation. So there's one thing you should know when adjusting modulations, and that is when I select one. So let's do pulse width modulation. And this is really nice for live performance actually. I can set it to pitch and it will not change, as you can hear. It will still use the pulse width modulation. For this to apply pitch 1, I need to wiggle the knob. So if you don't know that, it can be confusing a little bit. So the pulse width selection is kind of different in that way, because I can actually have the pitch modulation going and then change the pulse width. As you can hear. But the pitch modulation will just go on. So it's a little bit separate from the real modulations, so to speak. If you enjoyed that, hit subscribe, and here's the next episode, right here. Just click this and we'll go over the filter, and the filter section is something really magical. So just click here. Yep. Let's go to the next episode. All right. Click.